Love and Longing. Vernon, is everything all right? Mironoir asks as Vernon calls her on her communicator. It is, but he's so sheltered that when I explained myself and showed proof, he went off on a rant and tired himself out. Also, the boy's feet are covered in blisters and he's getting some pretty bad leg cramps. From everything coming together, I wouldn't be surprised if his room was a padded one, Vernon explains. He's taking a nap now. The food really helped him. I'm glad. What's going to... Mironoir begins asking before catching Quar Urla, mother of Jeth Urla, as the less-than-reasonable woman makes a grab for a battle princess's communicator. She gives the mother and accountant a very unimpressed look and simply holds her at a distance without further acknowledgement. Was that the boy's mother? Vernon asks. Yes, apparently she has a tendency to forget herself, Mironoir says delicately. Could you please tell her that a child regardless of sex is akin to a flame? Too little nurturing and it starves and dies, too much and you snuff it out. Keeping him desperately away from all forms of possible conflict or violence in his life left him starving spiritually. She's drowned him in love and starved him of strife. Both are needed. Vernon explains, not knowing that the device was put on speaker the moment he said child by Mironoir's fast and skillful fingers. And what would you know about raising children, let alone boys? Quar Urla snaps crossly. Having been one myself and being one myself, I know that if I didn't have my brothers to argue with, if I didn't have my mistakes rubbed in my face or the chance to make those mistakes, I would not have grown. I needed to understand in no uncertain terms that if I'm going to insult someone to their face, that I better be prepared to catch a fist there. As much as he and I hated each other, Big T was one hell of a teacher in the school of start shit, get hit. Taught me how important good manners are in just one afternoon. Don't you curse in front of my son! So that when he's older, he can be mocked and belittled for not understanding basic crude language. Excellent plan. Vernon retorts with enough acid in his tone that Mironoir raises an eyebrow. What makes you think he will ever have to be exposed to such filth? Because life happens. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, something will happen. Vernon says before audibly sighing. Look, lady, I get it. I really get it. You're scared. Every time you think about Jeth, all you see is that tiny little bundle of baby that you gave birth to. I get it. You will never be able to want anything more than his safety and protection. Then why haven't you brought him back? You're not listening, are you? I'm not listening? You're not listening! Quar Urla's rant-to-be is cut off when a tree reaches down and warps a branch around her mouth. There is a pause and the call ends. Vernon then drops out of the canopy above and lands lightly. You make it very difficult to keep my temper, Quar Urla, Vernon regards. I am assuming your intentions are noble. Do not make me assume otherwise. Vernon, why are you so upset? Mironoir asks, and he lets out a shuddering sigh. Though it is far, far rarer throughout history, stories such as Jeth Urla's are not unknown to the woods. These are the sorceress tales that end in the most pain. The sorcerers born of war sought vengeance and justice, yet those that are made as Jeth has begun. Vernon shakes his head. Mrs. Urla, a person, no matter what race, needs many things to grow. Yes, food and water and safety keep them alive. Physically alive. Such is fine for a beast. An animal can live a very satisfying life with just food, drink, and safety. A person needs more, so much more. The branch wrapping around Quar Urla visibly grow as she tries to burn them with her fire. Unfortunately, this forest learned to drink flame long before the Apuk surrendered their shells. The flames only cause the branch to thicken and the leaves to grow lusher. She makes a strangling gesture, a quick, panicky jig, then forcibly calms herself down and breathing more and more steadily. Are you ready to speak rationally? She nods in response, and Vernon looks up to the canopy and gives it a short nod. The branch unwinds from around her face, and she takes a few deep breaths. I deserve a say in my son's life. I am his mother, Quar Urla states plainly, and Vernon nods. I know that. I respect that. But your son has invoked truly ancient and powerful protections, laws that I follow, that every sorcerer follows. You're not an Apuk. You're not part of this culture. Being allowed into the Broken Shell tournament was farce enough, but you're also a male and you spat on a tournament to celebrate the strength in our women. You don't know anything! What makes you think you have any authority here? What right do you have to keep my son from me? I did not bring him to this forest. I did not guide him deeper in. I brought him food. I spoke to him gently, and I listened to his woes. In what way have I brought him harm? You're lying! You filled his head with ideas of being a sorcerer. I had to tell him that I'm a sorcerer. How is it that your son doesn't know of me? I was only the largest scandal in the planet's largest tournament. Not to boast, but I should be recognizable on sight by now. The last time I let him watch a tournament, he spent the next month doing everything in his power to provoke his sisters into fighting him. Do you have any idea what that's like? To come home and find your children declaring their intent to murder one another? Do you not trust your own children? I know my children, Quarurla returns. I've personally given birth to 8. Then why... If any of them were actually threatened by fire, then I'd have buried all 8 of them, my son included, she says tartly. Did you see a scar, perhaps? It's a big, jagged thing on the top of his head, so maybe not. It races from one horn to the other and is mostly hidden by his hair. He doesn't remember how he got it, and I'm thankful he doesn't. He tried to pull a Mr. Big Man routine. Tried to act tough and strong. He nearly split his head open. You weren't there! You didn't see him lying on the ground, broken and slowly dying? I did. I saw my little boy fading away in a pool of his own blood, and I knew it was my fault. I swore I would never let anything happen to him again. She rants at him, and Vernon simply matches her gaze without a word. Well? Say something, Mr. Alien Sorcerer Boy. Lady, I'm going to be as blunt and direct as I can. You're going to want to hit me when I say this. My wife may want to hit me when I say this. I will not, Mironoir protests, and he smiles at her. However, it must be said, when it comes to your son's previous injury, when it comes to your sense of failure and desire to keep him safe, I don't care! Vernon goes from talking to a shout that makes both Quarurla and Mironoir jump in surprise. I don't give the slightest of shits about what your damn excuse is. That boy needs help! He needs help that you've just told me you can't damn well give it to him. Meaning that putting him in your care is the worst things I could do. He came here, to a dark forest. Why? I don't care! The forest doesn't care. And if you were to buy a shit for me to give in relation to this, I wouldn't give one on general principles. Vernon rants hard, growing more and more animated, as he rants as if presenting a lecture with illustrations. At this point, he's speaking with his body as much as his voice. There are many less animated dances and martial arts. The first step is taken. The forest knows him now. The forest guards him now. The only way he leaves this forest is under his own free will. He walks out by choice, or he doesn't leave at all. No amount of excuses, of screaming, or laws written on paper, signed in blood, digitized in computers, or chiseled in stone can change that. And if you or any army tries to force it and starts making headway, then the forest gets back up in the form of every sorcerer alive! Even without that, without the sorcerers, the forest is still so strong that high-grade plasma and laser bombardment from orbit designed to reduce mountain ranges into smoking pits has only a slight chance of breaking through. If it doesn't immediately overwhelm the forest, it will feed off the energies and become so strong that it may very well reach out of the atmosphere and drag down the offending ships, and if things have gone to that level, then you can be damned assured that the poor boy's already dead in the crossfire. But there has to be some way I can bring him home. There is nothing anyone can do to force him out of this forest. Not you, not me, not my wife, not even the Empress can force this issue. The only being in all existence that can bring Jeth-Urla out of the dark forest is Jeth-Urla of his own free will. No one and nothing else, Vernon says, winding down and taking a few deep breaths. How do I help him? How do I bring him home? Quarurla asks with tears in her eyes. Vernon seems to deflate. The energy with which he ranted snuffed out, leaving him looking lessened by it. The only way to bring him home is to do the only thing you can do. Love your son and make sure he knows it. Only he can bring himself home, so he has to know, with no uncertainty, that he can go back. No ifs, no ands, no buts. There has to be a way back if you want him to come back. I can do that, Quarurla says, nodding rapidly, and Vernon holds up a finger. Good, now this is the hard part. You have to let him know that it's okay not to come back. What? It has to be unconditional. Whether he stays or goes, whether he visits so often that it's like he never left, or if he jumps on a spaceship and makes a point of being half a galaxy away at all times, he needs to know there's a way back, that he can have you as his mother no matter what. Otherwise, he might decide he's hit a point of no return and simple leave forever. He might leave forever, but letting him know that he can always come back? That means no matter what happens, there's at least a chance he will. Do you understand? I do. Perhaps telling her some good news, dear? Mironoir asks, and Vernon smiles at her. Sorry you had to see that side of me. Vernon apologizes. Vernon, my love, I will never regret seeing you in the grip of passion, be it for my pleasure or the defense of another. Seeing the raw fire that burns within you has never failed to impress, Mironoir says, leaning into her husband and wrapping her tail around his waist. There's good news? Quarurla asks softly. Soon a village will be built and your son offered a place there. It will be a home for sorcerers and those training to become sorcerers. Not only will this make his growing into one a much faster and safer, but we'll be opening a path for visitors as well. The Empress wants more sorcerers, and we plan to offer some foreign teachings as well. Of course, this is dealing with sorcerers. If Jeth doesn't want to be part of the village, we can't keep him there. What kind of foreign teachings? Knowledge from my homeworld. There was a nearly mythic group of master spies and assassins called shinobi or ninja in the days of old. They were resourceful, practical, self-reliant, and much of their strength came from an understanding and respect of nature. All traits that sorcerers share as well, it's just that they did it without axiom. So we're really just rounding out the skills sorcerers have and giving them a few more tricks, as well as a sense of style that some will follow, but all are free to ignore or emulate. I see. You haven't started building it yet, have you? The workers and teachers are supposed to arrive in a few days. Until then, I'll be bringing him food and supplies. I've already put together a shelter with a bed for him. It's not as comfortable as his room is, but he's off the ground, sleeping on soft moss, warmed under leaves, and sheltered from any rain. At least he's sleeping well, she says while hanging her head to hide the tears. The pirates. Fire in the hole! Jean-Luc calls out as he triggers the detonator and the collapsed entrance to the mine erupts. The shaped charges pulp the loose debris and stone to leave a clear and open path inwards. Good job, man. We'll take it from here, Hacketus remarks. The abrasive Horchka stowaway had quickly been made part of the crew and had blended well with them all. For a while, she had been understandably resentful over the mess with her arm. But after successfully integrating the replacement monster they'd made for her, all was not only forgiven, but she was outright contemplating if she should hack off her remaining organic one to match. The answer was no, but the arm she had been given has a plasma sword capable of extending from the palm, a high-powered laser from the top, and an incorporated riot shield-shaped axiom barrier to turn the bulky-looking beast into a small arsenal that could still be used to scratch yourself. She has ultraviolet goggles on for night vision and piercing the bug's stealth, and her main weapon of choice is a massive double-headed axe. Jean-Luc had called out the bullshit of a weapon like that, stating the weight and impracticality of having one of the main killing edges pointing at you. The response was completely sensible and almost boring. The extra weight gave the axe more power, and if anything happened to the first blade you used, you had a fresh and clean one on the other side. A twirl and it was go time all over again. Taking out his grenade launcher, Jean-Luc rolls his eyes a little. He's got a machete strapped to his thigh and a shoulder holster for a plasma pistol. Most of the crew was focused on building. A clean-up bug hunt was low priority, but needed to happen. Besides, there was always a bit of joy to be found in blowing things to hell. "Something's moving!" one of the girls in the armor states, and Jean-Luc pulls down his own goggles to get a good look. Outlined in a color he simply didn't have the capacity to see is a small horde of four-legged insectoid monsters. They scuttle forward like an unholy cross between crabs and spiders as their jaws flex and drool. It has a torso above the main legs and cruel grasping claws. A damn nightmare in chitinous reality, all the more horrible for the fact it cannot be normally seen. Hacketus rushes in and quickly becomes a dervish of war cries and a massive hewing blade as the less physically imposing girls pilot their combat mechs to cut down the outskirts, and several of the much more aggressive girls charge in close. "God-damned lunatics, the lot of them!" Jean-Luc groans as several of the snicked go at the chitinous horrors with arm blades as well as physical weapons. A woman with natural scythes as well as a staff, sword, axe, or whatever, is a hell of a physical force if it gets in your face. The girls are treating this far too lightly. Someone's going to get hurt doing something stupid. Jean-Luc moves to the side to reposition himself and look more clearly down the exposed tunnel. His eyes widen, and he quickly launches a trinity of grenades down the way to utterly destroy a large wave of the monsters. The sound of the explosions from the cave system hits like a physical force, and whatever enthusiasm these monsters had is damn well gone. He fiddles with the zoom function on his goggles and clucks his tongue in annoyance. Past where they blasted the hell out of the entrance, the old mine system is covered in slime, and what looks like gigantic ropes of the stuff somehow solidified. All told, the thing looks more like a diseased throat than cave. Well, shit, he mutters as the girls finish off the monsters. When dead, whatever axiom-based bit of bullshit that keeps them cloaked fades away to show just how ugly the beasts are. But that doesn't help the fact that being locked into the tunnels only seems to have given them a greater chance to breed. There must be another entrance or something. All blowing this one did was redirect them, Jean-Luc realizes. Burning wrath. Are there more? You didn't scare them off, did you? Hachitas demands, looking towards Jean-Luc. Whether I did or not, we need to go in. They made the mines into a nest. We need to completely empty it out, he explains as he pulls out his communicator. Hey, Jingay, I need you to tell Miles and Lady Lilpaw that things are a bit more complicated than we thought. We'll need to do another sweep after this one. Why's that? One of the girls asks, and he gestures into the cave. The beasts covered it in slime, meaning they're getting food from somewhere, Jean-Luc says as he retracts the goggles back to a normal view. What, so we have to do what then? Hachitas asks, and Jean-Luc sighs. It means that this is more than just a check and purge. It means we need to map out the whole place and make sure there's not some hidden chamber of eggs or a birthing matron or a larder full of animals with mini versions of these invisible little bastards growing inside them and eating them alive. What, do these things do that? No idea. All we know is that they're invisible predators and have been known to take bites out of people. They're big, four-legged bugs with knives for fingers, a bottomless appetite, and a date with death. So let's make sure the whole nest makes it in time, shall we? Jean-Luc asks, and there's a cheer from the girls causing him to smirk. Apparently leading wasn't so hard after all. He'll have to belt Miles one for acting like it was a chore or something. Mechs with plasma throwers in the front and melee girls all around. If these bastards sneak in through someplace hidden, I want an answer to it no matter what. We're looking for the main nest and larder to torch them both. After that, we're finding out where the hell else these caves lead to, but only if it doesn't get us killed. All right, Loverboy. Let's have some fun, the nearest mech pilot remarks, and Jean-Luc chuckles. Trissa is in there. You wouldn't peg an ant woman as sexy or flirty, but damn if she didn't break all his expectations. 6 extremely dexterous arms and an ass that defied any and all form of description beyond damn. Needless to say, she and him got along great. Outside of the bedroom, she had delicate and steady hands, making her great for helping him rig together almost everything, including the toys he'd be using tonight. Jean-Luc, you there? His communicator chimes out in Beck's voice. Knowing the field medic, this could be a stupid joke or it could be serious. It was hard to tell which way it would go. Yeah? I'm in the middle of a bug hunt. This better be good. Sai and I are heading over. We've got some of those scouting orbs we got out of the Sky Raiders fortress and an automap. This seems to be a perfect chance to monkey with it. Beck explains and Jean-Luc nods. Every time they finish getting used to one new piece of tech, another 3 seemed to pop up and needed to be mastered as well. There were just too many damn useful toys to ignore them. But there was just too many. The mechanized assault suits, or mechs, were a multiple-week project to really get a pilot for them going. Sure, you could jump in and be basically a walking tank, but if you wanted it to be a better option than even the most casual Axiom use, then you needed to know all the systems and components. Granted, the sheer size of the weapons you could hook up to them made the mechs almost worth it when you didn't know how to properly use them. If he wanted to cause the same damage that a plasma thrower on full bore could do, he'd need Willie P. learning. That had been a scary as hell day. Of course, since then, he'd been slowly building up a supply of the stuff. If the level of the hurt the galaxy is willing to give out is that excessive, then he'd best be ready to give it back. He and the girls hold position at the entrance of the cave, taking potshots at the monsters that show up as they wait for Sai and Beck. It's not a long wait, and soon enough the Egyptian and Indian man have arrived. No words are said, but there's some short nods. Sai opens up the case he had been carrying, and Beck starts fiddling with a small touch-activated screen. The interior of the case then lights up, and dozens of tiny cubes float up and then into the cave system. "All right, depending how big these mining tunnels are, it can take anywhere from a few minutes to an hour," Beck remarks. "So how long did it take you to get a good grip on this toy?" Jean-Luc asks, and Beck lets out a long, shuddering groan. "That's a long time." Yeah, that about ballparks it," Beck remarks, and Sai chuckles. "And don't you laugh. The scans they took of you are still on this database too," Beck snaps, and Jean-Luc raises an eyebrow, which prompts Beck to glare at him. "Don't ask. I just want to know if it's going to get in the way of what we're doing here. This is rather important, after all. We don't want these freaky things breeding. Indeed, it's bad enough for there to be vicious local wildlife, worse still for it to be naturally invisible. Thank goodness they're visible on the ultraviolet spectrum." "Which makes no sense. How is it they're invisible to thermal scans and infrared but not ultraviolet?" Beck mutters to himself as a 3D readout of the mine tunnels draws itself out on the screen he's holding. "Oh no, they're tunneling beasts," Sai remarks as tiny little winding paths show themselves around. Beck taps a few buttons and parts of it light up. "That would be?" "A very base-level mineral scan. These things seem to follow veins of metal. There's a lot of tin and iron in the area, but it looks like it's been chewed out." "Really?" Jean-Luc asks, before thinking and pulling out a pocket-sized scanner before walking over to a burnt chunk of monster. "Practically nothing. The calcium in our bones gives a higher number." "If it's not in the beasties, then why are they chewing the metal?" Hakaitis asks, as she reveals she's been listening close and takes a look at things. "There has to be some reason. If it's not in them physically, then they're using it for something," Beck remarks before poking a few more buttons to up the intensity of the scan. A trail of metal drippings is revealed, and it leads them up, through the winding tunnels, until it gets to a large chamber with only one entrance or exit. The metal is all there, concentrated in a single, massive form. "That is one big beast," Hakaitis remarks in an awed tone. "From the shape of it, it's been pushing out eggs. We found the hive queen," Jean-Luc says as he considers a tunnel. "It's far too small for most crew members to get in or out. A smart setup, really. The only thing that can fit through it is too small to pose a threat to the queen, but the newborns can wiggle out no problem. With the tunnel leading downwards, food can be dropped or rolled in, leaving the queen very safe, very well fed, and able to operate with impunity." "That is going to be an absolute pain in the ass to dig out," Hakaitis says, and Jean-Luc snorts. "You got a plan, man?" Beck asks with a grin that Jean-Luc returns. "Give that chamber the main monsters in a real good scan. If it's sound and tough, then we can kill it easily without even setting foot in there." "Boom?" Beck asks. More whoosh. "I'll be aiming for high heat to bake the queen in there. The stupid thing is in an oven. We just need to turn on the gas." "Do you have what you need?" Sai asks. "Sai, buddy, you can generally assume that at any given moment I have enough thermite on my person to completely melt whatever building I'm in. I just need to get to the hole that leads to this beastie's den to reduce it to charcoal. Or we could have one of the mech girls stick the muzzle of their biggest plasma cannon into the hole and hold down the trigger. That tends to produce a lot of heat," Hakaitis says, and there's a pause. "Well, yay, but I want to light a thermite fire. I'm not putting a man in harm's way just because he wants to have fun. We could rip your arm off and wrap you in duct tape again." "Save the bedroom talk for later, lover boy. We're on a beast hunt, and as much fun as these can be, we still need to take it seriously." Hakaitis all but purrs. "I never get to have fun," Jean-Luc grumps. "We can have that celebration Guy Fawkes Day or something." "That's an English holiday," Jean-Luc answers. "English, French, what's the difference?" Beck asks and grins as Jean-Luc glares at him. "If you're looking for a fight, then you're going the right way," Jean-Luc warns the man, who hands off his gear to Sai, who's already rolling his eyes. Beck slaps himself in chest with a grin. "Come on, Englishman, let's see." Beck's taunt is cut off by a flying tackle.